Hey, I'm Rue. I'm an adventure filmmaker based in Boulder, and in this video, I'm going to walk you through everything that you need to know about creating an adventure film on a budget. By the end of this video, you'll have everything you need to create a stunning film without costing a fortune. First up, let's talk cameras. We're living in a pretty exciting time for filmmaking. There are new cameras coming out all the time that are minor improvements on what already exists today. Which means if you buy a camera within the past year or two, you will likely have a very up-to-date, high-quality camera to capture some amazing footage. This applies both in the actual cameras, but also in the action cameras. The first camera that I would recommend is a GoPro. GoPros are an amazing tool. I don't need to explain what a GoPro is. These action cameras can go with you everywhere, and they often are the beginning stages of capturing adventure footage for a lot of the adventure filmmakers like me in the industry. I made a lot of surf films and skate films on GoPros, and that was kind of what introduced me to editing and getting stories together and capturing footage. It's a great way to just get your mind in that creation zone. But after a little bit, you'll probably need to graduate to something like an APS-C camera, which can upgrade your footage significantly and allow you to change lenses, getting various different looks. Lenses are cheaper, the batteries are cheaper, but they don't have a significant decrease in quality compared to the more expensive full frame options. Despite a lot of my films ending up in film festivals, larger screens, and distribution deals, I still will choose to shoot on APS-C size cameras when I'm doing very run and gun adventure work because they are light, they are still very good quality, and they're really easy to use, which when you're trying to balance filming in the snow or underwater can be a really valuable asset. Then as far as lenses go, having a variety is really important, but if I were to recommend one lens to start off with, it would be the 24-70. This is the sort of focal length that really can introduce you to filmmaking in a easy but not too overwhelming way. A zoom lens is great because it allows you to capture a variety of different things without moving around, which when you're filming on a wall or in the snow might be a really valuable tool. Prime lenses are great. Prime lenses are lenses that don't zoom, so it's fixed at 35mm or 85mm or any other focal length, but they often can be a little bit more expensive than the budget zoom lens options. With one lens, you can avoid buying more expensive ones. And if you're wondering if that's actually practical advice, I will shoot full documentaries on my 24-105 lens, which is for my full frame camera, but even still, having a wide range like a 24-70 or a 24-105 can be everything you need to make an amazing adventure film. This rock climbing film that I created with my friend Noah, if you want to check it out, was all shot on the 24-105 lens. Then as far as accessories for your cameras go, I actually like to keep my cameras very minimal because having added cages or mounts or unnecessary things on my camera feels like it complicates things for me when I'm out in the field, and it also can help keep costs down. So I will often shoot just with this or this and a microphone on top. Having good quality audio is an important part of filmmaking and often isn't overlooked, and as you can see, it's still a pretty compact, light setup to carry with me wherever I go. If you want to see the microphones I use and recommend, feel free to check out the link in the description. If you're on a tight budget, as you might be if you're watching this video, I would recommend buying lightly used or refurbished gear. That can help bring the cost down significantly, and you don't always really need the newest camera in order to do what you need to do. Renting gear for specific shoots is also a viable option. Instead of buying gear, you can rent in order to get a really great look without having to shell out all this money up front. Then you can have the conversation with yourself about what camera you'd like to buy and how much you're willing to pay up front for that. Although camera gear is a really important part of the filmmaking process and choosing the right tool in order to tell your story the best way possible, technique also goes a really long way in making these films while keeping them on a budget. You can always get creative with what you've got. In most of the longer form documentaries I create, I will use phone footage in order to tell the story if it's appropriate. Footage from a phone these days can be fantastic. It's what you're seeing all over social media, and I don't think when you're doom scrolling Instagram, you're ever complaining about the quality of some of these videos. You're hooked into whatever it is that they're saying and not thinking about the camera that they shot it on. If you're wanting to get into the budget adventure filmmaking space, there's really not anything better than a phone to do it. Phones have stabilization modes. They have 4K footage now. They have great color science. There's nothing wrong with using a phone to get started if it brings you into that creative space and allows you to tell a story with the tools you already have. There's so many many DIY hacks for filming with your phone here on YouTube, so I won't dive too much into it. If you're skiing or you're trail running or mountain biking or rock climbing, it's really natural for us to pull out our phones during these fun activities with friends anyways. And so having footage on your phone is not an uncommon situation in life anyways. So I'd recommend, if you're not wanting to get into a full ecosystem of action cameras or APS-C sensor cameras, try making a film with your phone, seeing how you like it. If you enjoy it, then consider buying something or renting something a little bit higher quality that's a little bit more expensive. And now that we've talked about gear and cameras and how to capture the image, there's a lot of other parts that go into the filmmaking process. One of which is lighting. And natural lighting techniques can really help elevate your filmmaking without having to break the bank. When it comes to capturing rock climbing photos or skiing photos or surfing photos, doing it at golden hour can really help create a beautiful image for free. It's natural when we go out at sunset to take beautiful pictures anyways. So if you're planning out a shoot, plan it around when the light is best. Sunrise or sunset can go a long way in elevating your films and making them look really good even if you have a cheaper camera. If you want to take it one step farther and figure out how to film at golden hour, if you position your subjects so the light is hitting them from the side or from the back, that'll go a really long way in making your footage look great. When you're out shooting at golden hour, whenever it is that you decide to shoot based on availability of the athlete and yourself, going solo or having a very minimal crew of just you and your friends can also really help bring a great look and a great feeling to your film without having to fork over a ton of money. Even now, I shoot a lot of my films myself. Although I love collaborating with the right people, I do think there's a time and place for me as a solo filmmaker to go out and execute a vision. Some of the clients that I work with aren't shelling out hundreds of thousands of dollars for a documentary. We have a one-day shoot and we need to go out and execute something, so I will go out by myself, maybe an assistant, but most of the times just by myself, to film, direct, edit the piece all together myself. This allows me to take home more of the project rate, making this a sustainable career for me, because if I were to be given $1,000, for instance, to go do something, and I spend $800 on hiring crew and all of the materials I need in order to get the project done, I'm making $200 from that day of work, which isn't realistic as a freelancer to continue on a career where I'm only making that amount of money per day. So getting good at filming and photographing and doing things by yourself can actually ensure that later down the line, when bigger budgets come in, you're able to outsource where it's appropriate, but also take on certain responsibilities yourself because you've built up that skill set by doing things yourself and learning how to light things and learning how to run audio and learning how to photograph and learning how to film and building up your skill set as a holistic filmmaker rather than just specializing in one specific thing. I think specialization is really important, and this is a whole other topic I'm sure we could go into, but if you're trying to make a film on a budget, doing it yourself is a great way to start. And if you do choose to decide to make a film by yourself, I would highly encourage you to have an effective and pre-planned out storyboard or shot list going into production. Planning out these shoots, even the adventure filmmaking space where things can go every which way, is still really important. And it allows you, as a budget filmmaker, to get all the shots you need when it comes to the editing process. This also allows you to be efficient when you're out there, which if you're hiring crew on an hourly rate or you're asking friends for favors to come along and be in your film, you're asking less of other people and you're perhaps paying other people less because you're efficient and you're getting everything that you need done out in the field because you planned it properly beforehand. If you're curious about what it takes to plan out one of these films, you can watch how I do that for one of my Emmy-nominated films, Unseen Peaks. I break it down here on the YouTube channel, how I planned out that ski film. But in general, I would just recommend creating a shot list, having a variety of different angles, a different focal length, and different locations to put the film together. This will ensure that you have plenty of coverage when it comes to the editing process. Which brings me into my next point of post-production on a budget. Every month when my Adobe subscription hits my bank account, I always wonder why I'm not using DaVinci Resolve or why I'm not using Final Cut Pro. I really enjoy Premiere. I am biased towards Premiere. I've been using it for years. I think there's a lot of really valuable tools in it, but on a budget, it is not something I would recommend. DaVinci Resolve is a great free editing software that has a lot of amazing tools to help you create your adventure films. There's also a studio version that you can upgrade to that gives you even more tools, but unlike a subscription-based model like Adobe, for DaVinci Resolve, you just pay one flat fee and you have it for life. There are other editing softwares out there, but I think DaVinci Resolve is the best of the budget-friendly options, which is what I would recommend here. When it comes to editing, you have your footage together, you import it into the software, likely, hopefully DaVinci Resolve, and now it's time to put things together and put music to it. There's no sponsor for this video, so I don't want to shout out any specific music software, but think of one that is cheap and does the job in terms of having high quality music for a budget-friendly price. There's lots of YouTube channels that I'm sure have paid sponsorships about this, but I would recommend doing your research online and figuring out what software is best for you. The biggest cost, in my opinion, of post-production is time. But hopefully, if you're interested in budget-friendly filmmaking and you might be wanting to start out, I think taking the time to learn editing is a really valuable tool, whether or not you want to become an editor of your films down the line. When you edit your footage, you look at what you did well and what you didn't do well when you're out in the field. I am the cinematographer I am today because I'm the editor I am. After every single shoot, I go home, I put the SD card in my computer, and I go through my footage. I look at every single second that I hit record. I look at things that are maybe out of focus. I look at things when my framing was off, when the lighting was weird. I get to understand where my white balance goes wrong when I go indoors. And over time, that has meant that I have a very clear understanding of when I'm doing something right and when I'm doing something wrong, because as the editor, I get frustrated with filmer Rue who messes things up out in the field. And when you're editing, you get to see and learn from your mistakes. Just because you don't have the budget to hire an editor doesn't mean that your film is going to be terrible. Even if the only thing you take away from your project is that you should shoot something different next time, you're still improving and growing as a filmmaker, which ultimately is what we want to do. We want to be the best versions of ourselves we can be. Maybe that's why you're watching this video. You're trying to learn how to level up your filmmaking game. And I think once everything's said and done and this video wraps up and you close and you go on to the next video, or you go out into the world for yourself and try to be a better filmmaker, it's about improvement and it's about growing your skill set. And if you're editing, sure, it might take a lot of time, it might be frustrating, it might not be what you want to specialize in eventually, but it makes you be a better filmmaker. And once your film is done, let's talk about distribution on a budget. Because distribution is sort of this unknown world when it comes to adventure filmmaking. Because if you're just starting out, you likely won't be signing your films to big distribution platforms, but going to low cost or even free film festivals can be a great way to grow your audience, but it also, most importantly, can be a way for you to learn what other filmmakers are doing, what you like about their work, and what you might be able to include from their style into your style as you continue to grow. In filmmaking, inspiration can come from everywhere, so why not put yourself in a situation where you continue to grow based on the films that you're seeing around you. And finally, when it comes to distribution, promoting your film on a budget is pretty easy. You likely have a social media, post about your film, talk about what you learned, talk about what you did, explain to other people what you loved about the project. I think by sharing more about your project on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, on whatever social media platform you resonate with, can help gather attention and grow your fan base, or grow the amount of people that might just be interested in checking out your work. And that's the whole filmmaking process. We covered the gear, we covered affordable production techniques and editing and distribution, and that's how these things go. You come up with an idea for a film, you get a camera to shoot it on, you edit that footage into something that you find important or meaningful or in your style, then you send out the film into the world for people to watch. So don't let a tight budget stop you from pursuing your passion for filmmaking. There are so many budget-friendly tools and budget-friendly strategies to get you to where you want to be. With the right mindset and a few creative tricks, you can create stunning films. There's nothing stopping you other than what's in your head, which is why I hope you enjoyed this video. I encourage you to watch some of the other videos on my channel because it will explain more about adventure filmmaking. Hopefully there's a lot of good nuggets in there for you to take away onto your next project. I love you. I'm proud of you for learning something new today. I'll see you in the next video.